So I disappeared for 6 months, like that one meme said, and here's what happened. And if you haven't seen the meme, this is the meme. So it basically says, disappear for 6 months, don't go to parties, learn a high income skill, track and record your progress, start a business with the skill you learn more and improve as you go, and then those 6 months can change your life forever. Now, I didn't do exactly everything that's on this thing, but the idea of disappearing for 6 months is what was really, really intriguing to me, and then the focus that came with that disappearance. And so I want to share with you what I focused on for my 6 month disappearance. And then what I did, and how you can do it if you want to, or implement the ideas, etc., etc. It's just it's kind of like a social experiment. It was like a thought experiment just to see how it actually works out. So it was pretty cool. The results have been really, really awesome so far, and yeah, just wanted to share some of this stuff with you. So the reasons why I disappeared were, number one, to resolve some internal conflicts, to map out the next 3 to 5 moves. So that was number two. To hone in on some of my key skill sets, learn some needed and missing skills, and then build the needed foundation, or the foundational steps, whatever, the things that I need for my foundation to be strong so that I can go ahead and get to the next level that I want to do and then accomplish the next level of things, etc., etc. So the foundation is a very, very big deal, and we'll talk about that as well. So let's talk about this. So resolving internal conflicts. Now, I don't know if you've seen Avatar, Last Airbender, but this is like one of the greatest scenes. It's on the last episode of the last season, and it's like a very, very epic battle. The guy in the blue is Avatar Aang. The guy in the red is his, adversary, his nemesis, Fire Lord Ozai, right? And so in this particular scene, what's happening is that their energies are, in this specific screenshot, their energies are not reflecting, but they're kind of like combating each other. And as you see, he's all red and he's all blue, right? So Ozai is all red and Aang, our hero, is all blue. Now what happens is, the goal here is that Aang's energy is supposed to override Ozai's energy. Aang is supposed to overpower Ozai, right? That's the idea. And what happens is that Ozai's energy starts to overpower Aang. And as you see here, he's almost all red, right? And I think we have another one where it gets to this point right here where it's almost as if he's about to be corrupted by this negative energy. And this is very, very important. I understand it's an animation and all these things, but this specific message was really important, and it's something that applies, I think, to every single human being in all parts of history, right? We're always dealing with this conflict of these two energies, and in this particular situation, it's a separate person, but it's meant to reflect what's happening inside of us. And I don't want to give it away just in case you actually end up watching this show, because it's really cool the way that it ends out. But this is what it actually looks like when he, you're about to see right here. Look, it's like the last speck of his eyes, and I'm going to play this just so you kind of can see how it plays out. But his energy all of a sudden overpowers, and then it turns into this magnificent kind of, blue light and whatever. And so that was the equivalent of him overcoming his conflict, okay? It was a visualization of what Aang went through to overcome his conflict. Now, the way that this looks like for a lot of different people is different. So the issue with 99.999% of people is that they have an internal conflict that either they're aware of, that they're not taking care of, or they're just not even aware of it. And they're torn between two choices, or two versions of themselves, or two lifestyles, etc., etc. Or their lives are so boring, they're not putting themselves towards any challenges. They're not challenging themselves enough, where their brain now is looking for things to turn into problems because the brain is bored. So your brain is so powerful that if you don't give it problems to solve, it'll get bored and it'll create new problems for you. And it'll be in the shape of dramas and, I can't believe so-and-so did this, and I can't believe this is happening, and I can't believe it. And it's mainly because of the fact that the brain is so powerful that when you don't feed it big problems to solve, it just gets bored. And for a lot of people, that turns into what seems like conflict, when in actuality, it could just be the fact that you're not challenging yourself enough. So that could be your conflict, is that you're not challenging yourself enough. But this is one of those things that literally comes in all shapes and sizes. So we don't know what yours may be. What mine is, or what mine was, and the new version of what my conflicts may be are completely different than what yours may be. And this is very important to understand. It doesn't matter who it is or what it is. They're all valid, right? Everybody's conflict is big in their world, in their eyes. Whatever their internal conflict is all consuming. So in my eyes, it may not seem as big of a deal, or in your eyes, my issues may not seem as big of a deal, but they are real to me. They're a big deal to me, and so yours can be a really big deal to you as well. And that's the whole point here, is that it's all equally valid. Nobody's pain is greater than somebody else's pain. You know what I'm saying? So that's the big thing here. Now, my personal examples, and I'm going to share some of this stuff with you. This is kind of me being vulnerable, but I think it's important for you to see and experience it with me so that you can actually see how this all plays out. So my original programming, this is mainly from my mother, and I know why she had this belief systems and all these things, and I've overcome these belief systems, but this was something that was very prevalent in my teenage years, and then it carried through my young adult years and even my early career, where these belief systems of rich people are greedy, or the powerful take advantage of the weak. And my mom is from Iran. In Iran, the government is very manipulating, not corrupt. The government is very corrupt, and they take advantage of their people. So the power, right? The power of the government taking advantage of the weak civilians of Iran, or their citizens. That's kind of what was her experience. And so she brought that, and she was teaching me this. Whereas, powerful people got powerful because they took advantage of weak people. Or rich people got rich because they took from somebody else's mouth and they ate, and that's why they got rich. And this was a really big challenge for me, because I want to become rich. I wanted to become rich, but my belief system was saying that, your mom thinks that rich people are greedy, and so if you become rich, then your mom is going to think that you're greedy and she's not going to approve of you. Therefore, you should not become rich. Right? You see how that plays out? That's what the conflict is like inside of a person. And so this is literally what I was dealing with. And it took me a while to first even notice that this was going on inside me. These conversations were happening inside of me. And then I had to do the work to overcome those belief systems and reprogram my own brain. But those things that was years. It took years for me to first even realize that this was a problem. And then after I figured out that it was a problem, it took years for me to overcome it to the point where now I actually believe that in order to become rich, you just got to deliver massive value. And the wealthiest people in the world, the Elon Musks of the world, have delivered so much value to people that they became rich. They became insanely rich. And that's how it works. Sure, there's a way that you can go manipulate someone, take advantage of someone, scam someone to get money, but that's not sustainable. It's not a long-term strategy. And most likely, you're not going to make it. You may make some money short term, but most likely you're not going to end up successful down the line and become very, very wealthy. And the goal here is to sustain your success, to actually maintain it, to grow it, and become even more successful as the years go by. So that's the big deal that we're trying to accomplish here. Chasing money versus chasing creativity and output was my other internal conflict. I felt like that in order to become super wealthy, I had to go for whatever made the most money and chase the money. When in actuality, it comes down to what are you delivering as far as creative output. I don't know if you heard that, but there was a car that just drove by. That was pretty loud. What are you delivering as far as creative output? What are you creating? What are you producing? What are you giving to the marketplace as a form of output? And your creations, your output, all of the things that you have done eventually will live on by themselves, and they'll do what they're supposed to do. But it doesn't work if you're chasing the money and then hoping that you'll somehow find creativity. It only works if you chase creativity and try to be creative and try to be productive and try to add value, where money becomes as a byproduct. It comes as a result of you being creative and solving problems for people. So for me, it was learning how to change the focus from, okay, I need to chase this money and get this dollar, to, okay, how can I be more creative? How can I add more value, create videos like this, stuff like that, right? So this was one of the big shifts as well for my own internal conflicts. Now, The first step to resolving conflict is admitting that you have conflict, admitting that there's something inside of you that doesn't feel right, that you want to fix. And it may not be big, you may already be living a decent, successful life, but there's just something inside of you that says, hey, there's more, and we can have more, we can do more, we can be more. So that's just admitting that something like that exists inside of you. That conversation is there. Then you meditate on it. Now this is unfortunately not like a black and white answer. I can't give you this is how you meditate on it. And there's a lot of books on this, and there's a lot of videos on this. You can go on TikTok and probably spend hours on meditation and meditate talk or whatever it is. But it's simple, but it's not easy, right? The simplicity is sit there with your thoughts, turn off all noise, turn off TV, your phone, everything. Remove all distractions and sit there with your thoughts and meditate on why you don't feel as right as you think you should, why you don't feel as great as you think as you should, and just meditate on it, and you have the answer. A lot of people will say, well, I don't know why I feel this way, and you do. Like all of the answers that you're looking for are already there, and they're already in you. It's just that you're so distracted, and there are so many things that are calling for your attention that you can't focus enough to find that answer. So the idea is to remove all distractions and put yourself in at least 15, 20, 30 minutes, maybe an hour time slot where you're alone by yourself, nothing and no one is distracting you, and you're free to kind of just sit with your thoughts and find out what's going on inside of you. The breadcrumbs are, I think, where most things get done. And this is not just with sales and building a business and things like that, but even with resolving internal conflicts and transformation. A breadcrumb could be, you just found out today that, oh, this is why I do this. And we're not trying to solve that habit or what that conflict is, but at least finding out, oh, that's the memory, or that's the experience that I had that resulted in this. And so that's a breadcrumb. That little discovery is a breadcrumb. Now the next step would be, okay, well, let's do some Googling and see what are some ways that people have resolved this in the past. What are some things that I can do to maybe resolve this for myself? That's another breadcrumb. Taking one day at a time. I'm just going to do my best today. And I'm going to make sure that at the very least I improve by 0.1% today. That's a breadcrumb. The breadcrumbs add up. It turns into a really big accomplishment a year from now, 2 years from now, but you don't notice it because you're literally, it's so small. It's so small that you don't even notice that it's happening, but it is happening. The change is being made, the progress is being made, but it's happening in breadcrumbs, in little bits at a time, which ends up adding up to really, really great transformation later on. Persistence is a really big part of this whole thing. It's one of those things that if you can actually just choose persistence as your thing that you're going to work on, most likely everything else will work itself out too. You can persist at something until you actually get there. This is very real, and it applies to so many different things. The most basic example is if you were going to travel a mile, how do you travel a mile on foot? You take one step at a time, and you do it until that mile is over. And you know that if you just keep taking the steps and take enough steps, eventually the mile will run out. Eventually that distance will shrink, and then you'll have accomplished and traveled that journey. So persist until you get there. That's the beautiful thing about this thing, is that you can actually get there. It is possible, and you can do it. I'm literally a living example of coming out of depression. And it was years. There was like years between my probably 25 to 30, the age of 25 and 30. I was so severely depressed that I did nothing with my life. I wasted all of those years. There's literally nothing that came productive out of those years, with the exception of maybe strengthening the relationship that I had with my sister and my family members. And you can't discount the value of that. So I'm not going to say that that wasn't a valuable thing that happened, but in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of society, in the marketplace, I did nothing. I was a depressed person that had zero output and zero productivity, and I persisted. And thank the heavens and anything, I believe in God and heaven and things like that, but thankfully it worked, and it actually got me to where I am today. And I will share it in other videos of what I've been able to do and all the different things that we've been able to accomplish as a team with our organization and things like that. But it didn't start from that. That's what I'm trying to say. It didn't start there. It started from a very, very dark place, a place that felt like I could never escape. But now we're here. And so it all happened because I just persisted. And I said, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make sure that this actually works and this actually happens. So for what it's worth, if you do persist, you will eventually get there. And here's what's cool about it. Each step feels better. Each breadcrumb makes you feel better because you're resolving conflict. Every time that you do it, every piece that you unlock, you feel lighter, you feel better. And it's one of the greatest feelings ever because you start realizing that your happiness isn't attached to anything external. It's all internal. And you start working on the things that will make you happier and make you feel better. And then you do the internal work and you already feel better. Like you feel wealthy, you feel successful, happy, and all of those great things. And then just because you've already adjusted the internal vibrations and the internal frequencies, the universe will then say, oh, okay, this person is ready. So let's make sure that they get the rest of the things that they want too. But that won't happen if you have uneasy energy or if you have internal conflict or turmoil going on inside of you and you feel like crap all the time. But then you want from the universe or for God to deliver to you this beautiful, happy life. And it's like, well, you're not at that vibration for it to be sent to you. So it's very, very wonderful when you go through each one of these little steps and each one makes you feel better and you feel even lighter and happier. Eventually, when most of the load has been lifted off, you feel ecstatic. You feel great. I hope my energy can kind of translate to this. I hope you can kind of feel the energy that's happening as we're going through this. Because honestly, I was so excited about making this video for you guys because I feel like this is like, I don't know, this is just, it feels like it's worthy to talk about. It feels like it's an important subject matter to cover, and I think a lot of people want to resolve their own internal conflicts. Okay, so I'm done ranting on this. We're gonna move on. Okay, so resources for helping you resolve your internal conflicts. There's a subject matter called neuro-linguistic programming, understanding more about the way that your neurons have been programmed through your language and through the language that was bestowed upon you through your parents and your teachers and society at large. Understanding how you've been programmed through neuro-linguistic programming is very, very important because you can then reverse the programming. If you know how it originally happened, you can then reprogram your own brain. Call it brainwashing if you want to, but it's all, again, towards the goal of resolving internal conflicts, being happy, being more fulfilled and more productive as a human being, etc., etc., etc. So this is the subject matter for anything that has to do with resolving conflicts or changing yourself as kind of like an intellectual being. A really, really good book on that subject is called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. I've read it multiple times and I refer to it regularly because it's just a very, very powerful book. And then The Way of the Peaceful Warrior is a little bit, it's less scientific of an approach to NLP, as definitely less scientific than Psycho-Cybernetics, but it addresses a certain conversation about resolving internal conflicts that I think every single person should read and hear and go through. And it actually was such a great book that they turned it into a movie. Although I'm always leaning towards the books. I think books are always better than movies. And this is a big debate, so I don't want to piss anybody off. But I mean, you probably understand. I'm sure you can think of a book that you read that when you finally saw the movie, you were like, "Oh my God, that was disappointing." Actually, yeah, leave it in the comments. So let me know in the comments what movie did you watch that the book was just way better. I feel like every single movie, the book is always better, but I don't know. You may have found something that was pretty good. So let me know. Let me know in the comments, and we'll talk about it. All right. Moving on to the next one. Mapping out the next 3 to 5 moves. Now, this was something that I originally learned from Patrick Bet-David's book, Your Next 5 Moves, and I kind of did my own thought work with it, and this is what I've turned it into just for myself. But the book is a really, really great book. I actually have it here. Hold on one second. I don't have the book here. The book is downstairs in the downstairs library, but I mean, whatever. I've read it. It's a great book. There's so many different marks. Oh, boom! It is here. Ha! 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 See, look, all the marks that I made. Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David. Really, really good book. And it'll help you clear up a bunch of stuff that's going on as well. So if you want to help kind of resolve some of your internal conflicts, this will probably help you too. So, but what happens is, once you have resolved your internal conflicts, it's so much more clear. Your future, the visions that you have for your future, the desires that you have for your future become just way more clear. And this is what I love about this whole concept of resolving those internal conflicts, because it's the first step. Once that's done, everything else opens up. It's like unlocking the map in a video game. I'm a nerd, obviously. We made references to anime, so it shouldn't be surprising that I'm a nerd. Okay, so questions is excuse me, jeez. Questions to answer as you are trying to figure this out. So number 1, who do you want to be? Number 2, how do you want to live? What do you want to do? Number 3, why? It's a really big one. Why do you want to be that person? And why do you want to live the way that you want to live? Why do you want to do the things that you want to do? It's a really important question. What is it going to take? It'll take money, maybe. It'll take skills, maybe. It'll definitely take discipline and determination, commitment, persistence. It's going to take something. Everything that you want out of your life is going to take something from you. It's going to require some kind of a price. The price may be monetary, but it may not be. And most likely, for a lot of people, it isn't, because a lot of people don't have a lot of money to invest towards whatever that thing is. So the equity, the price that you would have to pay will be in energy and time instead of money. So can you focus long enough? Can you dedicate enough energy? Can you dedicate enough time? Can you do it in a long enough chunk of time where it'll actually yield in something? Or can you just only do it for a day or a week and then it drops and you don't do anything? So this is a very, very important question to ask. And then the best one is, how are you going to feel once you're there? This is kind of like the fantasizing of the future. And that exercise is very important. Is how are you going to feel once you have the body that you want, once you have the business that you want, the lifestyle that you want, the girlfriend or boyfriend or husband and wife that you want, once you have the family that you want? How is that going to feel for you? How can you call those emotions in and actually feel those emotions? And if you can, then it's going to be way more exciting to do the rest of these exercises, including the actual work that's required to make it happen. Because believe it or not, you have to do a lot of work to make anything substantial come to fruition. To manifest anything, you have to put in the work. And it's not always hard work, of course, I get it. You have to work smart, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. But you got to put in the work. And so to know how it's going to feel when you finally get there, it's one of the greatest fuels that you will have. And then there's another great version of this question is like, how would you feel if you don't get the things that you want? That's also a really big motivator for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it's not the desire of something, it's the fear of something. A lot of people will run away from poverty faster than they will run towards wealth and success. But it just so happens that the running away from the poverty will get them towards their wealth and success and things like that. So how are you motivated? It's very important to know that about yourself. Are you a desire person or are you a fear-based motivated person? And each one of those, if it helps you get the job done, it's okay. Now, would we say that it's probably healthier to go after desires than to run away from fears? Sure, but that's also debatable, because if it gets you the result, why does it matter? Does that make sense? So as long as you're happy and as long as you're fulfilled in all those things, sure, we get all that, but there's different ways to get there. There's different ways to skin a cat, as they say. Okay, moving on. Mapping out the next 3 to 5 moves. Now think about this more in as a being, solving, and creating mindset versus an acquiring, having, or achieving mindset. This is very important. I like this because I got this from Hormozy, and the way that he approaches goal setting and business planning and everything within their organization is they look at it more as the scientific theory than they do as like goal setting theory. And so they approach things with more about a solving of a problem or running theses and testing theses against each other and creating options and being different types of people, being more powerful, more knowledgeable, etc., than trying to say, I want to go get this thing and I want to have this thing. I want to achieve this tangible thing. Because what happens if you don't achieve it? What happens if you don't get the thing? Are you going to lose your motivation? Are you going to lose the fuel, etc., etc., etc.? So it's like very, very important to have the fuel of it be the right type of fuel. And in my humble opinion, being focused on being a different type of person or more advanced version of yourself, solving certain problems or creating certain solutions, those are the things that will get you most likely the things that you want. So as an example, here we go. A person or source of value, and this could be very relative, right? So this is my example for who I want to be, right? So who do you want to be? That question is, I want to be a person or a source of value, and it's relative to different people. It's relative to the conversations that I have, to what people need. What value may be to one person could be completely different than what value may be to another person. But the end result is leave them better than I found them. That's the goal, right? And no matter who I meet, no matter if it's through a medium like this, where it's like a digital delivery, or if it's in person, doesn't really matter. The goal is to leave somebody better than I found them. And I know that as long as that's the main focus, everything else will fall into place, right? That's what I believe for what's going to happen if I, follow these things the way that I want to. The next one would be to deliver the most value that I can with the tools at my disposal. So how do you want to do it? Or what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? That was the question. And the answer to that is, I want to deliver the most value that I possibly can with the tools that I have at my disposal. So for example, a cell phone that can record this, a laptop that has this thing, and just doing these presentations. I used to try to, and I mean, you can refer to the videos that's already on the channel to have context and like a contrast for what we're talking about here. But this specific video compared to other videos that I've done is so low tech, and it's not a fancy video, but the goal is to deliver the value. I'm counting on the fact that the content will be what you're most interested in, not necessarily the quality of the presentation and my shirt and my background and things like that. So that's what I'm relying on, is the value that I'm delivering to you with the tools that I already have at my disposal. And so this could be the thing that you adopt for yourself too. Why? Right? The question was why? Why do you want to do that? If I give wholeheartedly, without reservation, the universe will take care of me. This is a sincere belief that I have. This is how I used to live my first phase of my career. And then I went through some struggles and I lost sight of this. And then my life changed and my career changed and I experienced tragedy and a lot of things. And it was because I lost sight of the original goal. And when I was doing this in the earlier part of my career, I had built up so much good karma that there were so many friends and so many acquaintances that were willing to do so many things for me when my life did kind of hit the fan a little bit. And I realized at that point, I was like, man, there's like so much power to just giving wholeheartedly without expecting anything, because it wasn't the people that I gave to that gave back to me. It was people completely separate from them that didn't even know each other, but it just I had that energy equity with the universe, that I had given so much that the universe said, we're going to take care of you, or I'm going to take care of whatever, through these other people, through these other connections that you're going to have. And so this is a really, really big belief system that I think will work for every single human being. Now, the catch with this is that it doesn't work immediately. It's not an immediate result kind of a thing. So if you go outside and you give wholeheartedly and help the local homeless people, or just do something in your community, you're not going to get that same, maybe you will, I don't know, but maybe that you're not going to get that same day a result back for what you did. It takes a couple of days, it takes a couple of weeks for that karma to start really setting in motion the mechanics of the universe. And unfortunately, after 1 or 2 days of being a good, wholehearted, like kind person or whatever, most people don't see immediate results and they're like, you know what, F this, and they go back to their original systems and patterns and habits, and then they wonder why their life doesn't change. So it works in chunks, or not necessarily chunks, in residual. There's like a delay. There's like this initial inertia type of a thing that needs to happen where you kind of feed in energy, and then when it kind of starts to overflow a little bit, that's when it starts coming back to you. And it's amazing if you can write that initial portion and wait until it starts feeding back, and then you can just keep feeding into it, and it'll just keep feeding back into you. And it sounds superficial, it sounds superstitious, but it's not. And I've experienced it and I live it, and I truly believe that this works. And if you speak with anybody who's like a real successful person, they will say something along this line to you as well. Learning to love the process, commitment to measurable activity. So how are you going to, what is that going to cost, right? So that was the question, is what is this going to cost? Whatever the thing is that you want, what is the thing that you have to be willing to invest and pay up? And for me, it's learning to love the process and committing to measurable activity. Measurable activity means there's something that you're working towards finishing. There's something that you're working towards delivering. It's measurable. It's not just sitting here meditating. Meditating is not measurable. Meditating is helpful, but it's not measurable. Sitting down and working on this slideshow and creating the next slide, that's measurable. Creating 5 slides a day, that's measurable. So this is one of those things that it's like, you got to love the process of it more than the completion of it. And I was so excited that this presentation was finished and I could record this and deliver it to you guys. And I'm going to be even more excited when it's already published and you can see it and all that. But the process of the creation of this thing is what I was really trying to fall in love with and get hooked on. And so that's the thing for a lot of people. A lot of people are chasing that end result, and then when they get the end result, they realize that it wasn't exactly all they thought it was going to be, and it's kind of disappointing. When in actuality, if you just learn how to love that journey, that process of moving forward and step by step, that becomes the win. And then once you got the accomplishment, awesome, but you're now hooked on the process and you want to do more. So that's what I believe what's going to take, and it's probably one of the biggest prices that people are going to have to pay, because it's a long-term life dedication type of a thing. It's not I'm going to do it for a day or a week or a year. It's something that you're going to do forever, for the rest of your life. And I think that those are the biggest tests in life. So how are you going to feel? What's going to happen when you get all these things? I imagine that 5 years from now, 10 years from now, after committing to a lot of this stuff and actually delivering and being persistent through a lot of this stuff, I imagine that I would feel at peace because I've added value. I imagine that I would feel whole and complete because I'm focused on not just money. I'm focused on adding value to other people's lives. I imagine that I will make money. I imagine that I'll actually be rich. And I imagine that my wealth, my monetary riches will combine with my spiritual, emotional, intellectual riches, my relationships and all those things, and together I will be wealthy, and then I will be fulfilled and happy. And those are really exciting to me. So hopefully it's exciting to you, but for me that's freaking exciting. So here we go. So it changed to the next 3 to 5 years. That's supposed to say 3 to 5 moves. So the only right answer to this question is the answer that sits well with you. For a lot of people, again, for everyone it's different. It's just some people aren't attracted by money. Some people aren't attracted by fame. Some people aren't attracted by adding value to the community. Some people just want money and fame. So it's like it has to feel right. It has to sit well with you. So don't chase other people's dreams and visions. Do the one that you want for you, that makes you feel good, right? When you pursue what feels true, the day-to-day stresses don't matter anymore. They don't even faze you anymore. You don't even notice them because your mission and your vision is so strong that it doesn't even bother you when all these little tedious things that happen. It's awesome. You'll work harder, you'll work faster, and you'll work for longer hours because it feels right. It feels good. It feels like the thing that you're supposed to be doing. And then this is what's really awesome. When your skills align with your purpose, so the skills that you actually have, if they align with what you want to do in life and with your purpose in life, and then that purpose and those skills actually align with the needs of the world, if the skills align with your purpose in life and your purpose and skills align with the needs of the world, then you are pretty much guaranteed to succeed. You're guaranteed to win. Because if there was ever a formula, that's pretty much it. That your purpose, your mission, what gives you emotional strength and emotional fuel that makes you wake up early, work long hours, etc., etc., etc. Your purpose, if that aligns with your actual skill set, and let's say it's the skill set that you already have or it's not that hard to develop, and then those things align with the mission of the world, the needs of the marketplace, the needs of the world, you're done. You're pretty much guaranteed to win. The only thing that would be stopping you at that point is you and delivering and actually working and doing the stuff. So that's the whew. So now got that. Now let's talk about skill sets. Skill sets are so important. They're so important. You have your own skill sets that you already have that you got to kind of do some auditing and a little bit of analysis and see what your major skill sets are and if they match your purpose, etc. And then whatever they are, you got to hone the important ones, the ones that you're the best at, and become master at those skill sets that you already have, because it's just going to be amazing. I don't want to get ahead of my slides here, but so in the age of AI, look at this, it's crazy. In the age of AI, what is a key skill set? Because AI can do so many things for us now. This is kind of trippy to think about. This was created by AI. It's a version of the Mona Lisa. So AI can create art. AI can create music. This was really, really trippy when it happened, but there was a song that came out that was pretty decent that used Drake's voice and The Weeknd's voice, but the lyrics were created through, I think, an AI, and then the delivery was through a voice emulator where it duplicated their voice through a bunch of audio that was fed into the AI, and then it recreated the voice of Drake and the voice of Abel and made this song, and it was like pretty fire. And so when it came out, everybody kind of lost it, and as the headline right here says, it alarmed a lot of studios and execs and labels, because it's tough to think about the fact that you can just feed somebody's voice into something and it can duplicate it and now they'll sing like this person. It's kind of nuts. And of course, the most recent, which I thought was unbelievable, there was this kid who created a new cryptocurrency called the Turbo token. And the first attempt at the Turbo token didn't do very well. The second launch that he did well, and now the market cap for this token is $77 million, and he didn't do it. He didn't do the coding, he didn't do the programming. He had a conversation with ChatGPT back and forth. They did the brainstorming that they needed to, and then ChatGPT created the code. ChatGPT created everything that was necessary for the currency to be released, and they released the Turbo token. And the kid is like, he's not even 20. He's like younger than 20, and he made this thing. So in the age of AI, all of these things that are possible, and it's going to become even more possible. So what is now our job as a human being? Great question. Your resourcefulness will determine if you're going to be able to keep up with the marketplace. So what does that mean? Number one, are you resourceful enough to actually use AI? That's a really important question. Do you even know what AIs are available at your disposal that you can use? That's a resourcefulness, right? Before AI was out, it was Google, right? So imagine if you're like a researcher and everybody in your peer group is using the physical library, and they're going through the indexes of the library to find the books that they need and do their research that way, and you're using Google. Who do you think is going to win? Probably the person using Google. So it's resourcefulness, right? And so now in the era that we're in, this is the era of AI, and it's going to become even more powerful and more affluent, and there's just going to be so many more tools. So in this day and age, your resourcefulness of being able to find the right AI and use it to make your life easier, to make your business easier, so on and so forth, that will determine how competitive you are in the marketplace and whether or not you're even going to be able to keep up with the marketplace. It is a competitive requirement now for you to be able to use technology. I know people in my peer group that are so against using tech because they think it's going to run their lives, so on and so forth. And it's a belief system, and they've adopted that belief system, and they're very gung-ho about that belief system. Meanwhile, the rest of the world is adopting technology, and they're moving quickly, and there are still a lot of people that aren't even willing to use Google or, so many just basic tools that exist now. And it is a competitive requirement. If you don't do it, you will be left behind, guaranteed. Oh, boom, right there. There you go. There's the bullet. If you don't, you will fall behind. So your ability to critically think and clearly communicate will determine how well the AI responds to you. So that's another skill set. Communication, critical thinking, and I mean, that's it. Like really being able to think through something, exactly what you want, what needs to be created, what the problem is, so on and so forth. And then once you've done the thought work, you go to the AI and you communicate clearly what you want the AI to be able to do for you, and then it'll essentially determine how great the results will be that it'll feed back to you, right? So your ability to critically think and to clearly communicate, these will be your biggest skill sets for the foreseeable future, especially in the age of artificial intelligence. It's now more important than ever to become a great communicator. And of course, when you learn how to use AI, you now become kind of a master and manipulator of time. Time arbitrage is a real thing. Time is the only commodity that we are all limited on. Not a single person on this planet so far has figured out immortality and how to be around forever. And so everybody's limited on time. And it's the one commodity that we all are limited on. And so when you learn how to use AI, when you learn how to regularly make it do work for you, you are now relieving yourself of time investment, right? So it's a very, very important skill set. It's one of those things that learning how to use ChatGPT is very similar to having a personal assistant who's unbelievably skilled, that you can now tell it to do a lot of your mundane work for you, a lot of the stuff that you could easily do. You just don't want to invest the time because now there's this thing that can do it for you, and it can do it way better than a lot of people, including myself and including a lot of other people. And so it's like, if you don't use it, you lose time. The people who are using it are saving time, and now their lives are different. Their lifestyles are so different simply because of the fact that the AI is doing so much of their work for them. So this is a very, very important concept to understand. If you're not already using AI, please welcome it into your life, learn how to use them, and make them work for you to make your life easier and to save you time. Okay, copywriting is the other skill set. I think, humble opinion, right? This is my personal opinion. I think copywriting is, I mean, it's right along the lines of clear communication, right? Being a great communicator. Now, what happened, unfortunately, this last maybe decade or so, the meaning of copywriting got diluted. People mistake the, web copy that you put on a website that says, here's the information about our company and here's what this picture is and da-da-da. People think that that's copywriting, and maybe it is. But it's not the copywriting I'm referring to. The copywriting that I'm referring to is you write a letter, send it to a prospect. The prospect reads the letter, and then they're like, oh, okay, here's my money. That's a skill set that is unbelievably powerful. This is not talking about manipulating people and scamming them. That's not what I mean. Because there are ways that you can do that. You can manipulate people, make it seem like you're a company that you really aren't, or make it seem like you're a person that you really aren't. You send them an email, it's a phishing email or some kind of a scam email. They buy into the email, they send you money. That is not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is persuasion. Learning how to persuade another person via a text on a screen, a video or an audio that they listen to, and that is delivered asynchronously en masse. Asynchronously means at the same time. I don't have to be there to deliver the message to every single person that's watching or reading the letter, and I can send that same video to millions of people. I can send that same letter to however many are on my email list or on my mailing list, whatever it is, and it happens asynchronously at the same time. I would never be able to deliver 1,000 presentations in a month, but I probably could, but I would probably be very exhausted and I wouldn't be doing anything else other than those 1,000 presentations. And so if I create a video that can deliver that same message and do it in a way that's still persuasive and clear and communicates the value and everything, and the person watches the video and they say, oh, okay, I do want this thing, and they opt into my page or they download the product or they buy it, that is as good as writing your own check. If you know how to do that, if you can communicate a message like that and sell a product without physically being present in front of somebody, that's the skill. It's as good as knowing how to create AI or knowing how to create cryptocurrency or something like that. But it's so much more close to home that everybody can learn this. It's very easy, in my opinion, to learn, because you just understand human psychology. If you just understand the basics of human psychology and sales philosophy, then you can become a really good copywriter. So again, humble opinion, but I think it's one of the greatest things ever. Now, combining the skill of copywriting with the media output of AI is unbelievable. So for an example, here's what we're going to talk about. A sales message. We wrote a sales message. Great copywriter. Love the sales message. It's going to convert. Awesome. So now here's a different way that we can deliver the sales message, because who's going to sit here in front of a computer and read, 15 pages of a message, or watch like a hour-long sales video or something like this? Most likely, most people don't. So you break it down into chunks. Now, once it's broken down into conversational audio chunks, then you feed that audio into an AI generator like the one that is at 11 Labs, and it'll start communicating, or excuse me, it'll start taking that recorded audio and communicating it in a human-like format, where it's not, Siri reading very robotically. I can't express how powerful the AI at 11 Labs is, the voice generator, the voice duplicator, emulator, whatever it's called. It's so powerful that it can make anything sound human-like. And so now you have the audio generated, and it can be mixed with the API of ChatGPT or another AI that can take what's being fed into it. So somebody responds as whatever the voice conversation would be over the phone, and then it'll go take that as a prompt and process it, and it'll feed back a live response. Now, recordings will be uploaded into a telemarketing service, and then the telemarketing calls will be made out, and then the first recording is, hey, my name is such and such from such and such company. I was wondering if you were interested in this. And the person on the other side may say yes or no, or maybe. So if they say yes or maybe, then the AI will register that prompt, and then it'll feed back the next part of the sales conversation. And it just goes back and forth like this until you actually have a completed sales conversation, or not sales conversation, but at least a filtering conversation, meaning the AI filters the conversation for you. And then when the person says, okay, yeah, I am interested in what you guys are talking about, so on and so forth, I want to do this, then the AI forwards it to the human on staff, which would be you or me or somebody at the call center or something like that. This is one version of taking copywriting and putting it into a system where you kind of manipulate the delivery of the copy, and then you customize it using AI, not just the voice prompt themselves, but the ability to take the new prompt from the customer, process that prompt, and then respond with a customized response. That's very, very powerful. And you're going to see that more and more and more often. And it'll get to the point where telemarketing calls are going to be made by a self-declared AI. Hey, I'm so-and-so, the AI for so-and-so company, and I wanted to know if you were interested in such and such. And you'll just see that. It already is happening with pre-recorded telemarketing messages, but it's just going to become way, way more human, and it's going to be pretty cool, I think, anyways. Learning the needed missing skills. Now, this is going to be very, very different for everybody based on who you are, based on what your desires are, and based on what your already existing skill sets are. This is going to determine the answer to this question. The basics that everybody should know, if you don't already, is sales, marketing, and persuasion. So we already talked a little bit about copywriting and the importance of that in the idea of persuasion. But sales, again, just another part of copywriting. Marketing, another part of copywriting. So sales, marketing, persuasion, critical thinking, and communication. We already talked about that as well. Very, very important set of skills to learn. If you don't already know them, I feel like I really hope you should. But if you don't already know them, learning how to properly go through critical thinking exercises and communicate a point well is very, very important. ChatGPT is the bare minimum of AI. If you don't know how to use ChatGPT, you are going to fall behind. I'm telling you right now. So start an account with OpenAI. Get very familiar with ChatGPT. You can have towards the beginning, it's free, and you have $20 worth of free credit, which is way more than you'll need for most people. But you got to learn how to use this thing. You have got to learn how to use ChatGPT at least. If you don't know how to use it, you're going to fall behind. Please learn how to use it. I'm going to stop beating the dead horse, but God, you got to learn how to use it. Okay. The skill sets that I needed, that I worked on feel free if you want to duplicate these for yourself. But copywriting and sales funnels, very, very important. And I'll share some of the stuff that I've done in this regard for you and with you in a little bit. Copywriting and sales funnels, that was one of the big skill sets that I really wanted to kind of master and get better at. Ethical hacking and cybersecurity, whole other conversation, but this is also a really important skill set that I think every single human being in the world is going to need to learn, especially as we become more and more digital and companies go more and more digital. So cybersecurity and ethical hacking. And ethical hacking is basically hacking with the ethics of, oh, hey, don't do this against a company without their permission. So you just learn how to become a hacker, but then you just don't do it to anyone without permission. And that's you being ethical about it. So, Python automation. Yes, Lord. Python automation is a big one. It's something that I started 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and I've automated a few tasks already in our business for direct response marketing, things like that. But you can automate so many things with Python, and it's very, very powerful skill to learn, and it's something that I'm really obsessed about. And the next one is process automation. So there, outside of the Python programming language, there's already so many AIs that exist and so many different tools that exist that can automate so many processes for you. One of the simplest and kind of oldest ones right now in the world of email marketing is called an autoresponder. And so an autoresponder, you can pre-write 100 messages and it'll send them out for you like clockwork once a day or once every other day or something for an entire year. You know what I'm saying? So that's a process that you've automated, you set it up, and now every single lead that comes in is just going to be followed up with like clockwork. Process automation. You will never learn everything that exists. You will never learn everything that is there to be learned. So you start with one skill that is closest to what you already know, because that's going to be the one that you'll probably learn the fastest because it's already close to what you already know. And then you use that skill, you stack that skill on top of the stuff that you have previously. And then the next skill after that, ideally, will be stackable too. So they help each other. For example, learning how to think critically will lead to being a really good communicator. Learning how to be a really good communicator will lead to being a good writer. Learning how to be a good writer will lead to being a good copywriter. And so these things are stackable, right? Critical thinking is necessary for everything that you do. And then learning how to communicate is necessary for everything that you do. Then it's like, okay, can you communicate in print? Can you write something and you can communicate clearly? And then can you write something that's persuasive, that if somebody read it, they'll be like, oh, I'm down, and they'll do it? It could be something that you want to sell as a product, or it could be convincing your friend to go to the movie time that you want to go versus the movie time that they want to go. That's persuasion too. And if you can do it in text, you're already there. You're pretty much already there. So a lot of you are already good copywriters. You don't even know about it. One strong skill is the equivalent of 100 mediocre skills, or 100 skills that you're inch deep on. So if you get one skill that you're mile deep on, that will stack. That will be something that you can take to the marketplace and just run with. Now the goal here, the idea in a perfect world, that skill set would be something that has longevity, right? It has the potential to last 10, 20, 30, 40 years. It's relevant to whatever it is that you're going to be doing. So going back into our examples, critical thinking will probably apply for the foreseeable future until AI does everything for humanity, where human beings don't even need to think anymore and they're just going to be fat lards on a couch. It's going to be terrifying. But until that happens, critical thinking is probably a really, really important thing that we all should learn how to do. So if you don't know how to critically think, that's the skill set that will be the skill set that could be like the most powerful thing that you got. So you got to get good at that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I feel like I'm beating a lot of these themes to death, but it's something that if it lands, if it sticks, then it'll be transformative. It'll actually help you change. So remember, go for what feels natural and what feels right, because most likely that's the thing that's going to be done fastest with the highest quality, because you actually feel good about it. So that's important. You will never learn everything that needs to be learned. I think I have a duplicate slide here. I did have a duplicate slide. So building the needed foundation, this is a kung fu stance, but foundation is a martial arts philosophy. If you have a strong foundation, then you'll be a great fighter. You'll have better kicks, you'll have better punches, so on and so forth. If you have a weak foundation, then you're not going to be able to do anything. And the greatest martial arts masters in the world will spend years talking about your foundation and working on your foundation. And the ones who are literally the greatest masters in the world themselves continue to practice foundational moves. The most basic punch, right? The Bruce Lee saying goes, I'm not afraid of a guy that's practiced 1,000 kicks once. I'm afraid of the guy that's practiced one kick 1,000 times. And that's all foundation. So let's get into this part. Foundation, establishing your foundation, is essentially where the rubber meets the road with everything that we've been talking about. You take all of the stuff that's in your head, everything that you've thought about, and now you're implementing and you're acting on those things. You are building. The keyword is building the foundation. So now you're actually implementing everything that you've learned. So every great life requires a great foundation. Every great business, every great adventure, every great marriage, every great relationship, it requires a strong foundation. A strong foundation sets the stage for everything else to be right. If a weak foundation will inevitably, it'll give in, it'll crash upon itself, it'll sink, and then you have to start all over again. And this is one of the things that has happened to me before. I skipped the initial development phase of my foundation with myself, with my skills, with my business, and eventually things broke, things cracked, stuff fell through the cracks, and I had to start all over again. And there's nothing, that's like one of the most frustrating feelings ever, to start something all over again. So for what it's worth, work on your foundation and take it seriously. It's a long-term thinking exercise, right? So what are you going to need in your life 10 to 15 years from now? If you can answer that question, you'll understand what you need as a foundational skill or as a foundational element. What about your career? What are you going to need in your career in 10, 15 years? What about your health and your family? How's that going to look like in 10 or 15 years? Thinking about all of these things and 15 years is not really that long of a term. 30, 40, 50 years is long term, really. But 10 to 15 years is kind of the initial long-term thinking. So what are you going to need in all of those areas of your life? That is going to determine what your foundation should be built on. Health and energy. So these are mine, right? So health equals energy for me. I need a lot of energy to do the things that I want to do. And in order for me to have as much energy as I possibly need, I need to be healthy. So I have to work out, I have to eat right, don't drink, all of that stuff. So I've, patting myself on the back, I have not had a drink since New Year. And the New Year drink that I did have was a drink that I took to the place because I knew they were going to have really horrible, bad quality alcohol, and I didn't want to put horrible crap in my body. So I took very, very fine distilled scotch with me, and that is what I drank. And that's the last time that I had a drink. And it's been, I think we're going into May or June. We're going into June right now. And I don't feel the desire for it in any way. It's been probably one of the greatest moves that I made in my life. And it makes you, it keeps energy. Like it keeps the energy levels high because there is no lethargy the next day and the headaches and the hangovers and things like that. And your brain gets jacked up when you drink liquor, etc. So this is not supposed to be an Alcoholics Anonymous conversation, but you get what I'm saying. I think you understand the point that I'm trying to make. Learning equals possibility. So information became another one of the things that I realized that's a part of the foundation. It's like the new information can open doors that were previously closed, or new information can give you results or solutions that you weren't even aware of before. Before you read the book, you didn't even know that solution existed, and all you had to do to solve the problem that's been like lingering with you for the last 6 months was read this one stinking book. This little piece of information could have saved 6 months of heartache and headache, but how many people read books after college and high school, right? So it's like learning equals possibility. New information equals new possibilities, new results, new solutions. So it's a foundational skill. It's something that if you can do and if you can commit yourself to, most likely you're going to succeed, and most likely you're going to have a better life each year, because every year you're stacking on more and more new skills and new information. Automate the mundane and repetitive but important tasks. So there are a lot of tasks in our lives that are important. For example, you got to do laundry. For example, got to brush your teeth, got to eat good food, got to exercise, got to take a shower. Those things, unfortunately, we can't really automate right now. The laundry thing maybe, right? But you got to go take the shower yourself. There are certain things that are repetitive tasks that are really, really important. Now, in business and in life and learning and things like that, there's a lot of mundane, repetitive tasks that you have to do that are super important, but they can be automated. You can use a process automation tool, or you can use Python automation or something to automate the mundane. And it's very, very important part of the foundation, right? So if you're in sales, you need an autoresponder. I don't care who you are or what you're selling. You need an autoresponder that's going to regularly, consistently follow up with every single prospect that comes into your prospect list and into your funnel. Now, if you don't have an autoresponder, you have to sit there and type up the email every single day or every other day or every week and follow up with your prospects. You have to do that. It's not something that's would be nice to do. You have to follow up with your prospects. So why not just automate the delivery of those emails? You take one time, sit down, write the email. Once the email is done, you now put it into your autoresponder series, and forever, any new prospect that comes in will now be followed up with and communicated with according to your original message that you sat there and carefully crafted, right? Very, very important. Repetitive, mundane, extremely important, and that can be automated using something like an autoresponder or any kind of process automation. So think about what the mundane, repetitive tasks that are in your life and see what tools you can use to automate them. Build a central hub for all information delivery and interaction. This is, again, one of my goals that I had to have because I wanted you to be able to go find anything that you needed from me. And that's my personal.com, which is armanvakili.com. And then package all of the information tools for easy delivery and easy consumption. There's a typo there. Easy delivery and easy consumption. So now, foundational piece number 1 that I created for you guys is armanvakili.com. We already talked about it. Foundational piece number 2 is this channel, yay, and every other social media channel that we have as well. Foundational piece number 3 is the Leverage book, which is the last ever financial planning book you will ever need, ever. And that's the book itself. This is available on Amazon right now. I'll put the link in the bio, but we're also going to do a launch for it with like videos and things like that. But this is actually a book that I designed and I wrote literally with that subtitle in mind. It's not something that's specific. It's not a tactic specific book. It's a philosophy of financial planning, right? So what is your financial personality? That's very, very important. And that's lifetime type of a knowledge to have. What are the basics that you need for your finances to succeed? What is your financial freedom number, right? That's something that everybody can solve, and it's long term. Learning how to figure out your financial freedom number is something that you can apply no matter what decade you're watching this. And then the last thing are the individual account types or strategy types that exist, that have existed for centuries, that will most likely exist for centuries, that are going to be evergreen financial products and strategies that, again, you will never need anything else for. So I'm a financial planner. My first business, my main business, is financial planning and teaching people about just basics of financial planning and their personalities around money and what their basics are for what they need financially and the tools that exist. This was something that I would have to manually tell people every single time that I sat down with a client or with a prospect. I would have to sit there and do the exercises with them. So I was like, okay, why don't I just create a book that can do it for me, that I can just give to the prospect, or they can go download from my website, and it'll do so much of the educating and informing for me, so that the person can get all the value that they need. And if they actually need me and my license to be able to set up some of these plans for them, by that time they'll come to me and they know exactly what they need, and the conversation just becomes so much easier, and you have an educated prospect. So this is, again, one of the things that I did because it was for the foundation of my business and my career. But I hope it serves useful for you if you want to read it, and you can get a free version of it on the website, and as well as you can just buy the physical version from Amazon if you like physical books. Foundational piece number 4, this is for the retirement community. So if you're watching this and you're above the age of 60 or 65, there's something called the required minimum distribution law that applies to your retirement accounts. I'm not going to beat with this one too much. The book is called The Golden Egg, but this was, again, a necessity for my business and my industry because a large portion of my clients are people who are in retirement, and they need to know what the required minimum distribution law is, how it works, how it implements their retirement, And the solution that's inside this book, we call the golden egg strategy. But the golden egg strategy is the strategy that's going to solve required minimum distributions for my prospect. And so this is me educating them prior to them speaking with me, so that they know what they're actually what they're going to be getting themselves into. So foundational piece, right? A useful tool that you can now use forever. And this is, I'm giving you these examples so you actually can see how this applies. It's like, oh, okay, we're creating a tool that's going to do this, this, and this, and this for us, for our clients, so on and so forth. And now I no longer have to do that. I have now replaced myself in a way with an asynchronous tool that can act for me on my behalf and then deliver the value to my prospects. So the question is now, should you disappear? This is a very important question, and it may or may not be practical for you to disappear, or at least for you to go off grid, right? The next best option would be that you check out mentally, and you can talk to your wife or husband or significant other about this. I don't think it's necessary for you to talk to your boss about it or things like that. But when I say check out mentally, I mean don't focus on anything other than the thing that's at hand. The only thing that you should be focused on for the next 3 to 6 months is whatever that goal is that you've set up for yourself. So the first move, when you look at your 3 to 5 moves, what are the things that you're trying to do? That's the first move. And you think about the first move and nothing else. And it becomes your sole focus. It becomes an obsessive type of a focus. And you think about the first move, nothing else. Then you move on to the next move. And then you keep doing this, like tunnel vision, sole focus on the next move and then the next move and the next move. And the next thing you know, 6 months have gone by and you've stacked these things on top of each other, right? So that's how this whole thing is going to work. Keep your head down, keep moving forward. Don't spend mental bandwidth on bullshit, BS, and low or non-priority tasks. This is a really big one. So many people have arguments that they shouldn't have. They have debates that they shouldn't have. They have conversations they shouldn't have. They spend mental energy. They spend bandwidth because we're all limited. Every single day we come to the table, we wake up and we have a certain amount of mental bandwidth, and you should be dedicating that bandwidth to the goals and the desires and everything that you're trying to accomplish. Not bullshit, not the stuff that people are going to distract you and whatever. And I accidentally clicked the button, but here it goes. Cut the mental fat, right? Cut at least one distraction, and then cut another one, and then cut another one. And then you'll be able to focus more. And each one that you cut away, you become more productive. Your results come out faster. The goals get accomplished faster. And the things move faster. And that's very, very important because time is limited. It's the one thing that we don't have infinite amount of. Program your mind to welcome and anticipate the dopamine hit of effort. This is really, really cool with conditioning and trying to kind of hack your motivation, right? It's like there's dopamine that gets released when you try things. Combines kind of with testosterone as well, and then like it feels good. It's the molecule of more. There's this book called The Molecule of More, and it's talking about dopamine. And it's not the molecule of accomplishment. It's the molecule of chasing. It's the molecule of anticipation. And dopamine can be one of the greatest tools that you'll ever use for yourself because it can help you get hooked on to effort. Because effort is not a result. Effort is on your way to the result. It's the anticipation of the result. So if you can kind of fall in love with effort, then the dopamine release in your brain is going to be ecstatic, and you're literally just going to love doing things and working and moving forward. And that's where the sweet spot is. It's not getting hooked on the accomplishment, it's getting hooked on the effort and the journey. And that's freaking awesome. So here we go. You can retrain your brain to do whatever you want it to, including intense focus. The point here is that you know better than anyone else if you need to disappear or not. And there's a very great chance that if you're watching this video, you probably feel like you need to transform or you need to disappear. That's the only reason why you've stuck it out this far. If you're at this point, we're already an hour into the thing. If you are here still, then you know that you need to transform. So that part is already answered. Don't do it for anyone else though. Do it for yourself. Make the changes that you need to make for you, not anyone else. Everybody around you will be extremely grateful and they'll be much better off for it because you chose to focus on yourself. So it's an interesting thing. You think like you're being selfish, but you're not actually. Because when you empower yourself and you make yourself better, then everybody around you is getting the better version of you. And that's better for them. So if you're weak, then you're weak for those who you love. But if you're strong for those who you love. And that's a really important thing to consider. So do it for you. Do it so that you're happy and you're strong and you're great, and trust that everybody else will be great too. And I think that's the last slide. Yep, that is the last slide. So this is it, you guys. I didn't think that it was going to be an hour long. I hope I didn't, repeat myself too much. I hope I didn't, go to the Department of Redundancy department too much. You know what I mean? And hopefully it was actually valuable to you guys. This is a conversation that I think I wanted to have for a very, very long time, and I just didn't know how to articulate the conversation. And when I stepped away to work on myself during these last 6 months, this was something that kept coming up more and more and more. And so I did it strictly because of the fact that I think it's an important conversation to be had. Now, if any of this registered for you, leave a comment below. If you have a question, leave a comment below. If you want to talk to me about this, hit me up on my website or on Instagram or anything like that, and we'll have a conversation about it. But honestly, it's meant to be a dialogue. It's meant to be a back and forth. So if there's anything that was unclear, ask a question. If you liked it, let me know. If you have, whatever. I'm not gonna beat the horse to death. Okay. Cool. Also, I'm not editing this video. I'm probably gonna just chop off the beginning of it and the end of it, and that's it. That's gonna be the whole video. And this is another attempt at kind of changing the delivery format just so I can deliver as much content to you guys as possible. Because if I wanted to create an hour-long video with like super fancy editing and things like that, it would probably take me a week just to deliver it. But I'm finished, and I'm gonna chop off the beginning and the end, and I'm about to upload this, and it was done in one day. So yeah, probably this is what's gonna be the format of everything from now on. And hopefully it'll be more real, more entertaining, more exciting, more valuable, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. My name is Arman Vakili, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.